Welcome back to Object First Zero Gravity Live, the monthly, every third Tuesday Tech Talk podcast, bringing all the latest discussions right to you. I got it right this time. I finally got it down. The change up, it's not a problem no more. Anthony Cusimano. I'm joined by my two best friends, Matt Price and Sterling Wilson. And gentlemen, as you may know, we have a holiday coming up in just a week, July 4th. We're all Americans. We celebrate the American holiday. But I know many of our European friends are also getting their vacation time in during the summer. So one, we want to know where you're watching from. And two, any plans for the holiday coming up?
Ooh.
Matt,
yeah, I'll go
what's
first.
going on?
So we've got some awesome plans for the 4th of July, and we've been doing this for the past 3 seasons since we've moved into a new neighborhood. So every year at the 4th, we do a big fireworks show right down at our neighborhood clubhouse. And it's so funny because when I first moved in, they were asking for volunteers, to help launch the fireworks. And I'm like, it's our first year. We'll sit back by the pond and just watch. So second year, I raised my hand. So second year, I was one of the guys out there with the lighter, lighting some of the fireworks to go off in the rain, mind you.
Oof.
This year, I'm proud to say we have upgraded to a fully automated and computerized system that launches this from afar, which is obviously much safer and allows me to be part of the family watching it. But it's phenomenal. The kids love it. We always do ice cream for the kids and, music and a big fireworks festival. And it's just right down the road. So that's what we've been doing. That's what we're doing again, and just blessed to have the opportunity to do that. How about you, Sterling?
Yeah, I have a quick question though. Is that all electronic? I mean, do you sit and push a button now and it kind of just ignites it?
It's an app, bro. You can sit here and run and create runtime and playbooks on the app. You've got delays in between. You can time it to music. Oh, it's next level.
Wow. Have you seen any of those fireworks that many countries are starting to do now with drones?
Super cool.
Yeah.
That stuff is next level, isn't it?
I want that. I want that just in life in general, around me at all times.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it's like instead of mood music, you just have a fleet of drones that follows you everywhere, like saying your mood like above your head.
Yeah. And they're like, buzzing around me, making cool shapes. I could
yeah,
use them
man.
as like extensions to my arms,
Now that is next level July 4th. Mine won't be anything that exciting, but I will be on the East Coast for this July 4th. And so that means fireworks as well, right in Baltimore, right on the Inner Harbor water. And I plan on taking a motorcycle ride down to our nation's capital as well, and just feeling the vibe and spreading a little love of the independence around that city as well. Pretty low key, but should be a lot of fun. Anthony, what about you?
Oh, you guys are not going to like what I'm about to say, but you already know I'm going to say it. So one of my favorite video game creators, Hideo Kojima, his new game comes out in like 2 days. And the last time one of these came out, I played it for like 100 hours and didn't do anything for like a month. So, I mean, you already know what I'm going to be doing July 4th. It's going to be the same thing I'm doing the days before and the days after. I'm going to be playing Death Stranding 2. I'm playing it by, so, if the fireworks go off and they're interrupting my gameplay, I'll probably go out and shake hands with some kids and be the old guy on the lawn. But I'm gonna be indoors.
Disney does some pretty elaborate fireworks, though, don't they?
They always do. So I mean, I've never been to any of the theme parks on July 4th, but it's usually like the days you don't want to go because it's so hot.
I get that.
And when you're in that concrete infested theme park, there's very little escape from the sun.
I get that.
But they always have a good fireworks show.
Good point.
If you do like fireworks in Florida, like it's kind of why I don't really do July 4th is I have fireworks year round.
Yeah.
You can see them when you're flying in at night on the plane. If you're ever driving in that area, you just see them. And we go to the theme parks quite often. So we're not.
I was about to say, can you see them from where you're at, Anthony, when they do the big one?
So I can see fireworks from my local mall from my window right here. But I usually to see the Disney fireworks, you have to be within like 4 or 5 miles from the area. Okay. Now, if you're at some of the hotels in the Orlando area that they're high enough up, you can definitely see them too if you're facing the direction. The coolest thing I've ever seen is flying back. If you ever have the opportunity to fly into Orlando, and it depends on when sunset is because they changed the fireworks time based on sunset. But if you're coming from most places in the United States, you're going to fly over the Disney parks. And seeing fireworks from the top down is
Oh
the
yeah.
thing, because you're just like, it's just different. It almost looks like there's little, flowers coming out of the earth. Flowers. It's really cool. I've seen it a couple times on various flights, usually because I land late at night
That must be
on the West
really
Coast, but
Yeah,
worth the experience if you can figure out how to.
must be cool. Yeah, I would love to see that from above. That'd be super cool.
Mhm. It is
Seems
very
seems
cool.
like a business idea, like helicopter evening tours of the fireworks show from 10,000 feet.
We just need to start our own glass bottom plane company.
There you go.
And
Yes. Oh my gosh, you just nailed it. That's it.
offer
Oh, man.
tours. I'm sure the theme parks would love that.
We promise it's safe.
We promise.
Speaking of cool things, Object First has done a pretty cool thing recently, and I think we've got something to show to our audience, don't we, Matt?
Yeah, we do. And just in case you guys missed this from VeeamON earlier this year, we want to roll this video and then we'll come back and chat all things consumption. So what do you say we fire this up?
Let's
do
roll
it.
it. Let's get them fireworks rolling. I like that you used the song that I used for my ringtone in that video, Matt.
Not your alarm clock. Whoa.
Every time my phone rings, it takes that long. That video gets me hyped.
Mm-hmm.
It gets me hyped because if you weren't there at VeeamON and you didn't see our announcement, Object First has launched a consumption-based purchasing model, and that's huge for us.
Yes.
I've been at the company over 3 years now, and it's been a recurring ask from prospects since the very beginning is, are you going to offer some kind of subscription or consumption-based model?
Right.
And we finally are. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to kind of talk through some of this, elaborate on some of the points that people might not find, abundantly clear from the onset, and talk through why consumption.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is something that, like you said, a lot of customers have been asking about, and even a lot of our Veeam counterparts. A lot of the world purchases now in this way. And, with this ever changing day of, budgets and how to consume and how to purchase, we're now giving them the flexibility. Now, so everybody listening, CapEx is still there before. That means if you just want to go out, buy a box, own a box, have a box, we're not removing that. But this awesome announcement is now that we now have a consumption-based subscription model with simple monthly billing. We own the appliance. You don't have to worry about that. And you just only pay as you grow.
Sterling, what this reminds me of is one of the big draws to object storage, and really, let's just say cloud storage in general, when it really first started gaining traction, is the ability to scale up and scale down with just a phone call or a mouse click. And essentially, that's what we're trying to enable customers with this on-prem consumption-based model. It's like, we understand your business is fluid. You would like to project what you're going to need over the next coming year. But if something changes and you have a large influx of data, we've got you, and you're not going to be locked into, some sort of large CapEx purchase, let's say, that wasn't scoped properly, for the amount of data growth that you're going to have. So this really does embody what you just said. It's pay as you grow. And I love that phrase.
Yep, absolutely. One of the things that really excites me too is the idea that everybody, when you think of on-premises storage, you think of the issue that comes along with it is that you buy a box, and in
Yep.
3 years, if you grow as you want your business to grow, you have to go out and you have to buy a whole nother box. Now, we support that. We will let the customers still do that. They can still do clustered formats and all the great stuff that they used to do. But if their model is we're going to grow and in 2-3 years we expect to explode, we expect to really continue to add a lot of data in our architecture, we're taking away that worry for them to have to go out and buy a whole nother box. They can just up their terabytes per month. And the best part about this, guys, the more you consume, the less you pay for terabyte. How cool is that?
Yeah.
It's very cool. And I think that's the biggest thing that maybe we'll just call them SaaS as a service deniers. And I would throw myself in that list, right? Like I hate the subscription in my day-to-day life, but I think a lot of folks come to this thinking like, I don't want a monthly thing. I don't want some, like service. I want to buy my hardware. I want to own it. And like, it's totally fine. I think there's very valid reasons to do this. And I'll actually show a graph in a second here that kind of elaborates on this. But the thing to really consider is what you said, Sterling, that growth. What business doesn't want to have monumental growth year over year, right? Like that is the sign of success in our industry is if you have more data, if you have more growth, it probably means you're doing something right or you have some kind of leak. But in either case, like growth is good. And the best part about the consumption model, in my opinion, is not only does it factor the fact that you will grow, but it factors the hardware refresh into that as well. Like that's huge. If you buy or if you sign up for consumption, you have 20 some odd terabytes today, but you're trending towards 40, 60, 80 based on your growth model. We're going to send you the right sized box for that growth. And there's a whole process and procedure to swap over to the new box, send the old box back. You never find yourself in a situation where we bought something physically, we did the CapEx purchase at 64 terabytes. Crap, we really didn't consider our growth. Now we need a 128 on top of the 64. You don't find yourself in that situation where you're buying more to outpace your growth. Instead, we're sending you what you need to grow with you. And like, I think that's the big thing that everyone has to really think about and consider when it comes to consumption, because that's really how you grow effectively.
Yeah, and I just wanted to kind of double down on one of the things you mentioned about like hardware refreshes, and you've got things like patches and just tech support and things like this. And to me, this takes me right back to the whole argument between rental houses and buying a house, right? There's absolutely a market for both. You've got customers that prefer to rent. You've got customers that prefer to own. There's no right or wrong answer there. There's, different size suits fit different size folks, right? And to me, the rental, obviously, relating that to consumption, if anything were to go wrong with the hardware, we own that. Like, we've got you. And, that really allows that flexibility when you're talking about getting into a storage solution to me.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And I just shared this. This is directly from our data sheet, which if you haven't taken a look, if you're curious about consumption, I recommend downloading this. It's only 2 pages and it's got great information in it. But you can see like how the steps work, right? Like with your traditional CapEx being the orange line, the consumption being the dark purple line. You see how the prices, the cumulative cost can overlay the growth with month, and how you can find yourself in this very big gap by buying more hardware that you don't need versus going with that sort of consumption pay-as-you-grow type model.
Absolutely. And I think this is a great graph for everybody watching right now. You can see at about 30, 31 months, those first 2 lines meet. So basically you're talking 30 months of that money that you didn't spend that you can reinvest in your company. You can put in other places in your architecture. You can make sure that you're really set to be really ransomware proof, not just with the power of the UPI, Object First UPI solution, but the rest of the architecture as well. And then when you look at that second step right there, that's traditionally when you would have to go in and purchase a second unit. So really, if you're choosing the consumption portion of this model, you just continue to go straight along paying for just the data. And now you've saved all that money and all those steps along the way that you have that flexibility for to use in other parts of your business. 2 particular use cases that come to mind are clients that we know are pulling some of their data out of the cloud. I mean, when these days, when you're ransomware remediation, we all know we need to have multiple copies. And so many of our customers, and you probably should think about this too, making sure you have your data staged on site somewhere where you can recover the absolute quickest. So that will be the number one. It's a super easy way for you to adopt these things without having that capital outlay right now. We will help you with the sizing, and we'll go through that a little bit, and we talk about how easy it is to adopt. That's one great use case. And another one, I just had a great conversation about this yesterday, are AI architectures. If you're modeling your own architectures, if you're training, if you're moving, if you're saving artifact stores and the things that are like, that data must be saved, and that data is going to continue to grow. What better way than to just use a consumption process with Object First UTP and just let it be?
I've actually got a question for you both. And I think a lot of times when we talk about new features, new functionality, it's always like why this is great for you. But can either of you think of a scenario where consumption isn't a good fit? So those watching would say like, maybe, I'm nervous, I'm hesitant. Like what's a good and bad match, and specifically a bad match for consumption?
I'll take a first stab at that. There are a couple of things that just may not be perfect for a consumption model. Those of us with those quote unquote old school budgets, meaning they know exactly what they're going to have. Their data rate is pretty flat. They're already perhaps mature as an organization.
Yeah.
And for them, just buying a CapEx UPI outright and having it in their data center and protecting their data that way may be a better fit for them. If they are already at a place where sort of all of their costs are known, their growth is sort of a known thing, and they have those budgets, those are going to be the people that probably should lean more towards our CapEx.
Yeah, and conversely, I'll take the other side of the coin there, since you took my answer, Sterling. I would say, like, a good fit for the consumption model is those renters, like I described earlier, the folks that are a little bit uncertain about where their data growth is headed and want the flexibility to just scale up as they need, just without having to worry about the sizing and what type of CapEx to acquire and obtain and put in their infrastructure. The other thing is why it's a good fit for some is they want to offload all the potential hardware risks of failures. Like they just want to pay a predictable monthly bill and know that their backup storage is done. It's ransomware proof, it's managed, it's plenty as far as capacity. And if anything goes sideways with any of the hardware, that's all covered as well. So it's just set it and forget it. Pay your monthly expense, and if you need more storage, it's a phone call. And
You're
I think
absolutely
that's
right.
where you kind of align with the renters of the world. They want to be able
Good
to
point.
exit this house if they were to have a family and need to grow very quickly.
That's
That's
a good
the
point.
good use case of it.
That's a very good point. And thinking about the scenarios that this fits in, we fit into both of the scenarios where a customer may have that object first consumption UTP box on premises themselves. They may also be paying a managed service provider to actually take care of their data as well. So whether you're being managed by another provider, backing up to an UTP on your premises or an UTP in their data center, or you own it, the consumption, or you have your own on premises, the consumption model works for both.
And I think it just comes down to flexibility too, right, Sterling? I mean, that's
Mhm.
one of the whole points is when we first launched UPI, by Object First, it was a CapEx investment.
Yeah.
Customers wanted, a subscription model because, like you guys have already talked about, a lot of budgets operate as a service. And that's one way that we can align with those customers' needs. And here we are today, offering both, regardless of which way the customer wants to go.
You're absolutely right. That definitely shifted the budgets. I mean, everything sort of shifting to subscription. And we just took away that barrier for them to
Yep.
adopt that. It's a great thing.
Now, I know we started this episode with July 4th, and it's a very American-focused holiday. Consumption's also only available in the United States so far. And Sterling, have there been any rumblings about expanding beyond our current geolocation?
Oh yes, our EMEA and the rest of the world partners and customers are really clamoring. This is something that really does change the game with on-premises storage in this way. This is not a subscription model; it's a true consumption model. So yes, they absolutely want it. We had to make sure we rolled it out and rolled it out correctly here in the U.S. first. It is definitely following in EMEA and the rest of the world later on this year. So stay tuned for that.
That's good news to hear. And I also know that when it comes to sizing specifically, that can be a little bit of a challenge, right? Because, you're not just sizing for how much storage do I buy, it's how much immutable backup storage do I buy. And that can require some trigonometry. Am I correct in that?
We want to make sure that the right box is placed there. We want you to have no concerns, and think about it from this perspective. If you're using 20 terabytes and then all of a sudden you have summer intern starting, or you have a backup that you didn't realize, and all of a sudden you're consuming 30 terabytes. Well, Object First is going to make sure we can handle that data. So you're not going to run out of data, and you're not going to run out of the ability to protect your most valuable asset. But that starts with that very specific sizing exercise. As a matter of fact, Matt, we have a sizing calculator that customers can use if they want, right?
We do, and I was actually going to mention this as we put this QR code up, because we did develop a sizer specifically for this use case, for the immutable backup storage requirement, like Anthony mentioned, because traditional sizing for backup storage does not necessarily equate to how much immutable storage you need. There's some nuances with immutability windows and timelines, and when things can be overwritten. And one of the things I wanted to call out here is this storage calculator is available. You can access it right on our website, but we're not just going to point you at this and say, knock yourself out. When we look at customers who want to go the consumption route, we actually engage with that customer with one of our SEs, and they help do the sizing for the customer. So just like how we talk about no security expertise is required to use our solution, we're not going to just say, go become a backup storage sizing calculator expert. We are the experts, and we bring that expertise to the conversation to make sure that whatever we recommend on the consumption path meets or exceeds your immediate backup storage requirements for the next foreseeable year. And we handle all that. So take advantage of the calculator, take a peek if you like, but don't feel like you're going at it alone. If you are interested in the consumption and you want to have a conversation on that, we'll bring an SE into that conversation with you.
Well said, Matt. And I think the idea is we want to make sure we keep this simple, just like you said, to adopt. So that first step is engaging with us, and we'll do that free consultation. We'll do that sizing for you. The step 2 is you place your order with us. We ship you the Utbe appliance. You don't have to worry about the ownership of that. And step 3 is you're billed a fixed monthly amount by your Object First partner. And once again, we're able to take any overages or any additional consumption, we will call it. So if your usage goes above the baseline capacity in any month, you're just simply billed for that additional usage the next month. And we unlock the capacity as you grow. It's just that simple.
Now, it is worth mentioning, and you kind of hit on this a little bit, Sterling. In order to use these boxes, you have to have telemetry enabled. So that's one more path to think about. Like, if you are considering the consumption route, you do need outbound access from your data center where the Utbe will reside, because otherwise we couldn't be able to report on how much you're using and come up with an accurate monthly bill. So one of the requirements is that telemetry and outbound access is enabled on our box, and that's a non-negotiable. But again, that is for consistency, accuracy, and making sure that you're getting billed for the appropriate amount.
Well said. And everything else operates just the same in CapEx or consumption, right? I mean, software updates, firmware updates, security patches, tech support, it's all the same, right?
It's technically less work than it would be if you went the CapEx route.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the telemetry gives us so much more data than just usage. So it's certainly advisable any place that's capable to enable that. You're doing yourself a favor. And I believe it was Jeff and I actually did a video that's on our YouTube channel that talks about all the benefits of enabling telemetry services. So the only, use case I could see where that's not an option is if it's in a completely hardened ecosystem with no outbound access. Well, CapEx is going to be your only path to Utbe.
Yep.
Agreed. That's definitely going to be the best path at that point.
And, I just want to double down on what everyone said so far. When it comes to consumption specifically, like, we've really thought about this from top to bottom. Hence why we didn't just come out with it at launch when we came up with Utbe, right? We wanted to come up with a model that was secure, simple, powerful, just like everything else we do. and that could be implemented quickly and easily and efficiently, but accurately in the environment. Hence why we needed the sizing calculator. Hence why we have the conversations and, use things like telemetry. This is not just something you can flip the switch and enable as a business. This is something that took time, effort, and energy to ensure that your experience using consumption is the same as our customer experience is using Ootbee. Non-intrusive, no expertise required, incredibly easy to set up and use. And you're going to see that continue to move forward with additional launches in other geographies and regions. Like, our focus is always going to be providing the best customer experience possible with the least amount of work for our users. So I think with that, we're coming up on 30 minutes. Any closing thoughts on consumption? I'll start with you, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this was a no-brainer at launch, like you said, Anthony. It's walk, then run. We had to make sure we got Ootbee to market. CapEx is a traditional model. We started hearing from more and more customers, as we suspected, that as a service is just up and to the right. It's everything you can do as a service. A lot of organizations use that. That's what they prefer because it's a monthly line item for their budgets rather than a large outflow of capital. So it's nice to know that we put thought into that and we rolled it out in such a way that keeps everything simple for the end user. Because the one thing that I kind of want to end on with me is this sizer, kind of going back to the sizer. Many other vendors out there might just allow consumption or they just offer subscription, but they don't really focus too much on the sizing because they don't care. Right? If a customer got a 200 terabyte box and the customer's data was already at 160 and was projected to do 260, in 6 months, well, that's just going to be more sales for them. So one of the things that we took extra time and consideration on with the sizer is we project this out and the customer can see this. We do this with the help of an SE, like we already said. We want to make sure that whatever we drop into the customer site is properly sized based on where they see that growth going. And that's the extra level of white glove treatment that we're giving this when we talk about consumption. And that's why we're the best storage for Veeam. What do you think, Sterling?
Wow. I think you just nailed it. Just like I took your comment earlier, you pretty much nailed it there. I mean, everything you just said, if you're in a situation where your data is growing, give us a look. This is a way for you to not have to buy the absolute box. These terms are 1-year terms. There's really nothing for you to use, and we know you'll be delighted. If you are a partner and you've been building white boxes for your customers to try to stay, to give them what they need in just a particular way they do at the cost that they need it, look at us for consumption. We can help grow your business and help you bring the customers the immutability you need. And finally, if you need your data, if you're growing these AI models, if your company is growing, if you need a way to put your data on premises for the fastest restores, this is the easiest path to do it. At least check us out, give us a call, and let's do a sizing to see what we can do for you. Anthony?
I love it. I couldn't say anything y'all said any better than you did, so I won't. Instead, what I'll do is thank you as always for being on the show. And I'm going to tease a little bit for our next episode, right? Because we do this every third Tuesday, as we mentioned before. And this episode was really focused on consumption. But there's something else that I think we really need to kind of dig into and talk about, which is what makes our brand of immutability distinctly unique from everyone else's out there. So if that tease isn't enough, next episode we'll be talking about true immutability and what makes the marketing claims of immutability different from an actual deliverable of immutability. So be sure to tune into that next episode, and we're going to get real technical on all the details that separates the sheep from the wolves, let's say, when it comes to immutable backup storage. So thanks again, Sterling and Matt, for joining us today. Great overview on consumption. I learned something, which I think is always a mark of achievement as an employee. If I learn something, it's going to be a good show. Thanks to our viewers. Thanks for tuning in and watching. Be sure to share this with your friends or your coworkers if they're interested in learning more about Object First Ootbee and our consumption model. And as always, stay weightless, stay frictionless, stay zero gravity. We will see you next time.